Formula One returns after a 10-year absence. You'll be hearing from Louise Goodman and James Allen in the pits. Now let's join Martin Brundle and, first of all, Murray Walker.
It is a great day, and this is the most visually stunning Grand Prix circuit in the world, full stop. They spent an enormous amount of money on what was the Österreich ring and is now the A1 ring since 1987, when Nigel Mansell won the last Grand Prix here. 2.7 miles the circuit measures now. The fastest lap that we had this morning, when they were all trying very hard, was 136.6 miles an hour. You've heard the news from Jim, but the astounding news is that the fastest man, and they were trying, as I said, very hard indeed this morning, was Pedro Diniz, and second was Jan Magnussen. Third was Jacques Villeneuve, and fourth was Jarno Trulli. Now, there is a connecting link there. These days we seem to talk just as much about tyres as we do about cars, about teams, about drivers, about circuits. And the significant thing, and it may be very, very significant in the next 60 minutes, is that the Bridgestone-Goodyear tyre war has reached a climax here in Austria, because this is the first time that both companies have been to a new circuit. And Bridgestone have got the honours at the present moment. Fastest with Diniz, fastest with Magnussen, fourth fastest with Jarno Trulli. Damon Hill down in 11th place, but do you think it's going to stay like that?
Well, you have to think so. Even Eddie Irvine and Villeneuve, who did get amongst the fastest Bridgestone runners this morning, were on the softer tyre, and I don't believe they can run that in qualifying. If they do, they're seriously compromising their race. So we could have a very, very unusual front row of the grid here. Qualifying has started. You may wonder why there are no cars on the grid. It seems here that you need at least 2 and preferably 4 laps to get the best out of your tyres. Plus, this circuit is getting faster and faster with every lap as the rubber goes down. There was some rain overnight, so they had to relay the rubber onto the corner, in the traction area of the corners. And they're all going to want to go out right at the end of the session. And, of course, they're just going to have 2 runs today, unlike the normal 4 runs that we see. So it's going to be very, very relaxed for those first few minutes. And they're going to want the others to go out and see the pace of the track. The GT race here, apparently halfway through the race, they were up 1 gear. They were 1 gear faster through every corner than they had been in qualifying, just because the grip was coming to the cars.
Well, this morning, less than a second, 9/10 of a second, covered the first 14 in time terms. Now, that is unbelievable almost. It's certainly the closest that we've had this season. And it really does look, after all the races that we've had this year, 13 of them already, as though Arrows and Stewart, the new team, are right on the pace. The engine of the Ford engine in the Stewart, the V10, is going extremely well here. Jan Magnussen seems to have got his act together. The young Danish driver who won 14 out of 18 Formula 3 races in Britain when he became British champion, and then went on to drive in the ITC touring car races and a few races in the Indy series, has now overcome whatever sort of a psychological problem he had. He's really relaxed. He's going extremely well. He was much quicker than his teammate Rubens Barrichello this morning. Jan Magnussen was second, and Rubens Barrichello was 10th quickest. But this circuit is very unusual. Most of them have about 13 corners. This one has only got 7. Where they used to go straight over the hill at the old Österreich ring, they now turn right and climb up and into a slow right-hander. And there are 7 corners altogether. You get a fastest speed here of about 185 miles an hour on the run down to the Gerser curve, which is the one that's replaced the world-famous Bosch curve. We'll be seeing a lot more of that later on. But there are several parts of the new circuit that are in common with the old one. You're looking now at the climb up from turn 1 with the 2 gantries across. Big crowd here, of course. This is Gerhard Berger country. He hasn't done very well today. He was only 17th quickest this morning, and his teammate Jean Alesi in the other Benetton was 9th fastest. But there are all sorts of rumours. I'm not at all convinced that Gerhard Berger is going to announce his retirement.
Well, he told me last week that he'd had enough, and really it all seems a bit of a chore to him, and maybe it's time to stop. But he's saying different stories to different people. I've heard the rumour that he's becoming the technical or a senior person at the Sauber team, that he's joining the new BMW effort that's coming with Williams in a couple of years' time, that he's retiring, that he's going to America. Really, Gerhard's sending out all kinds of signals at the moment, difficult to read, but he pretty much convinced me last week that he did want to stop. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously now all of the key seats are closing down, but interestingly, there's a lot of talk that Trulli is not staying at the Prost team. Now that is a good drive for next year. Alain Prost, of course, will be running the team for the second year and done a very good job. Bridgestone tyres, the Peugeot engine is going there. That may interest Gerhard, but you know, very, very many stories about him. Briefly,
as ever, our industrious James Allen is down in the pit lane. What's the news, James?
Well, just pick up from what Martin was saying there. I've heard today from the Austrian press that Gerhard's already signed to be the BMW test driver, so we'll have to follow that story this weekend. Tyre-wise, it's absolutely fascinating down here, Murray. It looks like the soft runners on Goodyear are going to be Sauber and Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari. Michael Schumacher playing it very conservative, running with the old, heavier chassis, not the new lightweight one, and hard tyres, forcing Villeneuve to take a gamble, making him make the running. Villeneuve's not biting. He's going for hard tyres as well. So watch that situation. Could be very interesting. The blistering of the tyres has been very bad on the soft tyres, particularly the Goodyears. All the Bridgestones are on the soft tyres, but we're expecting very few runs today, possibly as few as 2 per car, because it takes time to get the hot lap out of those tyres. You're going to need to do a few laps before the heat gets into the tyres, before they work, and before it all comes together. Little sidebar for you. I've just heard, I haven't had it confirmed yet, I've just heard there's been a huge screaming match last night between Patrick Head and Jacques Villeneuve concerning setups. A real set to it was, apparently, according to the witness who told me about it. Interesting.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussion, it's the polite way to put it, between Patrick Head, who's the technical chief of Williams, and Jacques Villeneuve, and for that matter, Heinz-Harald Frentzen during the season. Both drivers want to go their own way on how they set up the car. More on that in a moment from Martin. And Patrick Head doesn't always agree, and there have been some quite strong words between them. But when we talk about setup, what are we talking about?
Well, there's so many aspects of the car that you can change in an infinite number of ways, but it's mostly the spring rates of the car at each end on the shock absorbers. In fact, you run 3 at the front and 2 at the rear. The tyre pressures, the ride height of the car, the stiffness of the anti-roll bars, and of course, if you change one element of that, it does affect the others. Then you've got the aerodynamic package, you know, the front and rear wings. You can choose a level that's going to either get you along the straights faster than the others, but you lose time in the corners, and you have to decide which is the best payoff. So they'll be talking through those, looking at the computers, understanding the driver's feedback. He'll be saying something like, yes, into turn 1, under braking, the back of the car's not with me, I can't brake as late as I want. When I turn in, it understeers. That is, the front doesn't go in as quickly as I want it to. On the exit, I can't get the power on. And even if you're P1, even if you're the fastest car on the track, you're still saying, it's not good enough, I want more, and you have to. That's what they expect from you. Michael Schumacher looking very relaxed there, talking to Niki Lauda. Ross Brawn, the man who's made such a difference at Ferrari this year, looking very pensive there. This is an important day. It's going to be difficult for them on the hard tyres to get a good grid position amongst those Bridgestone runners.
How many more of these are there?
A couple more, I think. So you coming out tonight?
What do you think?
Depends if she'll let you out. All right. I bet we catch all the traffic tonight. It's gonna be fun.
Consider yourself at home. Consider yourself one of the family. Waiting for you, so strong. It's clear we're going to get along.
Consider yourself well in.
Consider yourself one of furniture.
There's one name on the high street that still helps more people than anyone else to buy a home of their own.
Consider
wonder 20 million people now consider themselves part of the Halifax.
Consider yourself one of us.
Is this safe?
Is it safe? Is it safe?
Not safe.
It's not safe.
It's safe.
It's not safe.
It's not safe.
I read it wasn't safe.
It's too risky.
It's not safe.
What are you talking about?
Shopping on the internet.
Your son is shopping on the internet.
The internet.
With his credit card. It's the future of commerce. I read about it.
It could be safe.
Well, how do you know?
IBM is making it safer to buy things over the web.
Well, welcome back to beautiful, scenic Austria, the Styrian Mountains. It's about all we've seen so far, to the intense frustration of Martin Brundle, myself, all the people that you're looking at. There's a magnificent new grandstand here that holds 15,000 people. Everybody's getting extremely frustrated because we're some 10.5 minutes into the 60-minute qualifying session, and nobody has as much as started an engine, let alone turned a wheel. We want to be talking about the action, you want to be watching the action, but there isn't any yet. Stay tuned, it's going to happen, and when it does, I promise you it's going to be terrific. I remind you again that there was less than a second between the fastest and the 14th quickest this morning.
Yes, this could be one of the best qualifying sessions of the year, believe it or not, but it's difficult to believe right at this moment. They've really wrecked this track, I have to say. It used to be one of the all-time great racing circuits. There's no racing driver that's been around this track that doesn't reminisce about it and talk about what it was like going into the Bosch curve and what it was like coming through the Os curve at the end of the lap. And it was so exciting, so scary. You needed everything with you. You needed the car with you, and you needed your full bravery intact on that day. And now it's down to just 7 corners, and in fact I have to say the most demanding corner is the one out of the pit lane, I think, but they'll only use that once in the race. Louise Goodman is down in the pits talking to Jackie Stewart.
Jackie, it's looking like a good weekend for you so far.
We had a good Thursday where both drivers were second and third. We had a good day on Friday with Rubens being right up at the front and Jan unfortunately having a mechanical failure. And today Jan was fastest in the first session and second fastest in the second session. Now we're facing qualifying, so it's been a good weekend.
But what's happening now? Why isn't anybody out on the track?
I think everyone's recognising it's going to be the last 5 or 6 minutes that real action's going to take place. They've only got a limited number of tyres with only 12 laps, of course, allowed in qualifying. So I think everybody's a little nervous of going out, setting up a time early with a set of tyres, and they may only be using 2 sets of tyres during this qualifying time, 2 or 3 sets. So I think until somebody breaks the ice, we're going to be standing here in silence.
What about all the people around the world watching this? There's millions of people out there staring at an empty track.
Well, I really don't think at this moment the drivers are particularly worried about that. I mean, they're more worried about trying to get up into the front end of the grid. The first corner here in Austria at the A1 ring is very tricky for a first lap situation. Ideally, you've got to be up the front end. It could get very congested in that first corner. Front wings get damaged and rears of cars get run into. So I think there's a lot of nervousness about trying to make a good start. So therefore a grid position is vital to that. And of course, that's what it's all about, this final hour.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. You best of luck.
Well, for those who are watching, they should hang in there because it will be a very exciting hour.
Thanks, Jackie.
Well, an important weekend for Jan Magnussen and, of course, the Stewart Ford team. It's not gone well for them, particularly since Ruben Barrichello's second place. Magnussen had a difficult season. He's been fast all weekend. Some talk as to whether he'll stay in the team next year. So a strong performance here this weekend would make such a difference to that. It's as fickle as that, believe it or not. He was just 0.003 of a second from being the fastest driver this morning. James Allen has found Gerhard Berger.
Gerhard, we're racing in Austria again. You must make you very happy.
Yeah, it's nice to run in front of Austrian public. I was trying very hard to get the circuit back. Now we are here and it's great.
A little bit quiet at the moment though, Gerhard. You're obviously waiting to see what everyone else is doing.
Well, no, I'm not quiet. Unfortunately, I'm not in good shape. I'm not happy with my lap times. Not happy with the setup on the car yet. So, I'm not happy how the tires works. Doesn't look a great session for me.
I don't sound very happy at all. The Austrian press today, though, is saying that you've already signed to be BMW's test driver. Is that true or false?
The Austrian says every day something different. I'm enjoying myself to read every day what they're saying.
And how do you think you'll do in the session when it gets started? How do you think you'll do in the session when it finally gets started? I mean, despite the fact you're not happy with the car.
I go into the car and just drive it.
As fast as you can. Thanks a lot, Gerhard. Have a good day.
Well, I know you worked jolly hard to get the track back, Gerhard. It'd be nice if you worked jolly hard to get them out on the track. So it's 45 minutes left now. It's not going to be an exciting hour, as Jackie Stewart said. It looks as though it's going to be an exciting half hour as we look at Giancarlo Fisichella. He's kept out. That's that thing he's got in his nose, incidentally, is all the rage these days amongst people who pursue athletic way of life, is to help them breathe better. And Fisichella's been keeping clear of the legal battle that's been going on between Jordan, for whom he drives at the present moment, and Benetton. And he has been decided that he's going to go back to Benetton, and he seems to be quite happy with that. I think in his heart of hearts he may prefer to stay with Jordan, but he's going back to Benetton.
As we look at the front of the Benetton there, car looks a bit like a Christmas tree this year with so many sponsor stickers on it, but the thing on Fisichella's nose does make an enormous difference. Remember, you wear a balaclava inside the car and a closed crash helmet, full face crash helmet, and quite often it is difficult, especially at very high speeds, to get the air inside that you need for the high work rate that you have inside the cockpit. Ralf Schumacher looking very pensive there. His new teammate next year, as we now know, will be Damon Hill. I think it's an obvious move for Damon. After he failed to secure the McLaren drive, I think the most structured, most settled team that he could go to for next year will be Jordan, even though they do have to integrate the Honda engine into that car. But Frank Williams there in the background, just out of view. Damon really has got a lot to do there. He's got to move into that team and establish himself with the technical people, establish himself over Ralf Schumacher, and lots to do, and I'm sure he's looking forward to it.
Interesting looking at Ralf Schumacher and comparing him and Giancarlo Fisichella. At the beginning of the season, the conventional wisdom was that Ralf Schumacher would go faster than the young Italian Fisichella. It's proved to be... Do I hear an engine in the background? Yes, indeed I do. Now, let's wait and see who it is. It's Tarso Marquez braking. Now, I'll tell you why he's going out first. It's Tarso Marquez is going out in the arrows. He'll get some television exposure that way, which is more than he would any other way. And Louise Goodman is with Damon Hill.
Thanks, Murray. Damon, you seem to have the right tyres this weekend. Bridgestone are looking good.
I'd say you're right there. The Bridgestone runners have been... The Bridgestone runners have been looking for competitive all weekend, so we're very hopeful.
What about expectations here at Arrows? Your teammate was quickest this morning.
Well, that's a good sign, because Pedro has got his car set up well, and it shows it can be done. He got Jan Magnussen as well, was second quickest, so you know, there's work to be done from me. I got to do a bit better than I did in this morning's session, but I think we can do that.
It's been a big weekend for you this weekend. You've been announced as the Jordan driver.
That's right. Pleased about that.
Thanks, Damon. Good luck this afternoon.
Well, Tarso Marquez would have made a big storm if he'd gone out in the arrows, Murray, because he drives for Minardi. But anyway, he's out there now, and obviously plenty of TV coverage, as we've said before, for the lesser teams. A good chance to get them out on the track. You feel a bit like a leper if you have to go out quite this early. You know you're giving away something, but somebody has to do it sooner or later. You have to break the ice. And now let me tell you what's going on in the pits. All of the key drivers are going to be watching the monitors, watching the section times. They know how fast these cars should be, just like we do up here in the commentary box. They'll be keeping a close eye, and suddenly everybody becomes edgy. They want to be out on the track, and you start to feel as if you're being left behind. And in the end, maybe you just jump and get out a little bit earlier than you really wanted to.
Well, Tarso Marquez has gone through, and Jos Verstappen is out on the track at the moment, which gives me the opportunity to say what I always said about this time during qualifying, to remind you all that there are 22 drivers here trying to qualify, it's by no means a foregone conclusion that they all will, because in order to qualify for tomorrow's race, you have to do a time within 107% of the fastest time of the afternoon. And the fastest time so far is that of Tasso Marquez. It's going to come down a lot. James Allen, however, is with Damon Hill's 1998 boss, Eddie Jordan.
Well, Eddie, you managed finally to persuade Damon to come with you.
Yeah, at long last. It's taken a couple of years. We've been involved before, obviously, in Formula 3 and 3000, but I've always wanted him to drive for us in Formula 1. Then he sort of went off and became world champion and put his price tag well out of our reach. But now we've been able to amass and get everybody together, so we're enormously pleased.
You've really got to raise your game. This is where you've got to start really winning now, isn't it? He's obviously the guy who's going to lift you up that extra step. Is that the thinking?
Well, to be quite honest, that's the only reason we would have done this. Damon has a wealth of experience. He's a particularly nice guy, easy to work with, has a huge testing ability, which our team needs. But more importantly, I think what he does have is he has 21 race wins under his belt, which gives, if you like, the team that extra incentive that we should be able to get on and win more for him.
It's great news. Everyone in Britain's very happy. Well done, Eddie.
Thank you.
Two drivers out on the track. Tasso Marquez in the Minardi that you are looking at. He's just completing a lap and going through to start a new one. Now you go down the start and finish straight into turn 1, which is where he is now climbing. One of the unusual things about the new A1 ring is that it's got plenty of gradient, and indeed Marquez is climbing up now towards the highest point of the course, which is turn 2. It's a very slow right-hander, second gear, 45 miles an hour. From this point on, he speeds up and starts to drop downhill at about 180 miles an hour as we join Jos Verstappen in the Tyrrell, who's going through to complete the lap. A lot of drivers went off at turn 7 in the background there this morning. And Jos Verstappen is the quickest of the day so far, and we are now 21 minutes into the 60-minute session.
Well, Verstappen already within a couple of tenths of his fastest lap this morning. The track is some 6 degrees warmer, the air temperature just 1 degree warmer, and especially the Bridgestone runners, they're looking for that hotter track because they're having to wait until the 4th lap before they're getting their time. And they're hoping the track temperature will go up and give them a time on the 2nd or 3rd tour. So Verstappen homing in on his time. Marquez also down in the low 13s. Pole position here is going to be a 1:10 point something. And that's the fastest lap of the year in terms of overall lap time, even if this is not the shortest circuit of the year.
I wonder who's won the battle of the setup. You looked at Jacques Villeneuve there in his helmet and overalls with his arms crossed. Is he using the setup he wants, or is he using the setup that Patrick Head, the technical director, who after all was responsible for the design of the car and has got so much experience of Williams and what makes the cars tick? Who's going to win, and who's going to win this battle for pole position? It matters a great deal, because as ever it's most important to get a clear track in front of you when the race starts. And particularly important for Michael Schumacher and for Jacques Villeneuve, with only 10 points separating them in favour of Michael Schumacher. Now, with just 4 races left in the World Championship, Austria, the Luxembourg Grand Prix at the Nürburgring next weekend, and the Japanese Grand Prix, followed by the European Grand Prix at Jerez in Spain. And Tasso Marquez now goes through. He's on his 6th lap. He's got 12 laps like everybody. That's as much as you're allowed. And really, he's not going to qualify higher than 20th, I wouldn't think. So he might just as well go out now and get the best possible time that he can.
The average cow passes enough wind in a week to inflate a hot air balloon. 88% of clowns never fall in love. 36% of strippers had a convent education. 98% of Man United fans have never been to Old Trafford. Men think about sex every 6 seconds.
for around the price of a kipper. You could have What's on TV magazine with its guide to over 150 films a week. Great competitions with thousands of pounds worth of prizes, easy to find listings of the whole week's TV, satellite and cable programmes, and loads of inside news and gossip. All this for around the price of a kipper. You get all the answers to what's on TV in What's on TV, only 47p.
You are a good lad. Hello.
Oh, these are new. So, what are we having then?
Starting tomorrow, a free professional photograph offer worth up to £50 with the News of the World and the Master Photographers Association. If it goes on, it goes in.
Did you wait days to get your last pair of glasses? Why not try a Vision Express Superstore? We have the lens manufacturing lab actually in the store, so we don't have to send your glasses away. Your glasses will be ready in about an hour, even bifocals and varifocals. And right now at Vision Express, you'll get a free second pair.
You know, what always puzzles me, Martin, is we've got 34 minutes left now. Hardly anybody's been out. With respect to Marquez and Verstappen, nobody who's going to be at the top end of the grid has yet been out. Isn't it counterproductive with so many cars on the grid when they do go out for the people who are trying to put up good times with traffic?
Absolutely. There will be a lot of squabbles on the track, and certainly any kind of traffic in your way around this circuit with so few corners, it's pretty much going to wreck your lap. But without doubt, when we read the press releases this afternoon after qualifying is finished, there'll be drivers complaining about so-and-so got in my way, it would have been quicker, I would have done better. But they know that their best lap time is going to come probably on their last lap of the afternoon. So that's what they've got to brew up for. And it's a strange feeling to sit in the pit so passively. We saw Mika Hakkinen really yawning when we saw him briefly a moment or two ago, and suddenly you've got to get in that car and put in an absolutely banzai lap, and the change, your tempo that you have to suddenly step up to is quite strange.
Now here is a change in tempo, and I'm expecting the sparks to start flying at the end of this lap, because you're watching young Jan Magnussen, the Danish driver from Roskilde, and now you watch Gianni Morbidelli, who replaced Nicola Larini in the Sauber team. And I hope we go back to look at Magnussen, because he was second fastest this morning in the Stewart Ford. Jackie Stewart was saying they've had a good Austria so far. They've had an absolutely sensational Austria, with Jan Magnussen going second fastest this morning, which no one would have put a lot of money on. And there's a good chance that he's going to be well up on the grid now. Gianni Morbidelli, too, has been going well in the Sauber Petronas. That's a Ferrari V10 engine rebadged with the Petronas name. And I'm expecting Morbidelli to go quickest very shortly of the four drivers who've been on the track: Marquez, Verstappen, Morbidelli and Magnussen.
Well, because Morbidelli has now lost this drive for next year to Jean Alesi, moving to the team to be Johnny Herbert's teammate, and as you rightly predicted, Murray, he's quite a bit ahead. This car is faster than the other cars that have completed a flying lap to date, but Magnussen should really drill one immediately somewhere into the 11s, and I'm expecting Morbidelli, yes, low 12s. His next lap will be somewhere in the 11s too.
Now, Morbidelli this morning went round in 1 minute 12.5. He's gone round in 1 minute 12.09, so he's faster this afternoon than he was this morning. Jan Magnussen went round this morning in 1 minute 10.785. A tremendously quick lap. That's some 136 miles an hour. And the young Dane is fastest of all in the second sector. He's just coming through to complete the lap. And is Magnussen going ahead of Morbidelli? No, he is not. He is just 1/10 of a second slower than the Sauber. He's on his third lap. You heard James Allen saying that they're probably only going to be doing 2 runs here this afternoon instead of the usual 3, using each set of tyres that they've got for 3 or 4 laps. And Morbidelli now is faster in both the first and the second sector. He's going to go quicker than he went before. That's his time on the left, 1:12.096. That's his new time on the right. And he is fastest and considerably quicker than he went this morning. It's a good sign.
Well, that will alert everybody else sitting casually in the pits. There you can see Damon's looking at the computer screen there in front of him, and that's a broken engine in Trulli's car.
Trulli. Yeah, Jarno Trulli's Mugen engine has called it a day. Now Trulli will have to run back and get in the spare car, and unfortunately for him, the spare car is set up for his teammate Shinji Nakano, the Japanese driver. So they may well have to change the pedals as well as the seat.
And look, I wonder how much oil he's dropped on the track, because he's blown up heading down towards turn 6 and then carried on quite a long way around the circuit, no doubt leaving a trail of something out of the back. That's a fairly large internal failure there on the Mugen Honda engine, but truly electing to come all the way back to the pits. If I can see a trail, yes, there is a trail in the pit lane, and he will not be a popular man for that.
It's easy to say this, but really he should have stopped immediately. He must have known, with a great white flume of smoke coming behind him, that he'd had a major blow-up and he was going to be making things very difficult for everybody else.
Well, absolutely right, and he will be called up in the front of the stewards for that, but that's certainly taken the shine off of sitting in the pits too long if he's left a lot of oil on the track. James is down in the pits.
Yeah, Trulli just rolled past me, Martin. There's a lot of oil come out the back of it, 3 thick lines of it by the time he got to here, so you can imagine how much he's dumped out on the track. So obviously everyone from the teams is looking at this slick of oil that runs down the pit lane. Bad news, of course, if you're booting it on the way out towards the end of a session, as people like Michael Schumacher are prone to do. Catch the back wheels on that, you'd be straight into the pit wall.
Yeah, well, let's watch Katayama. He's coming up towards where that oil went down, because he's just approaching turn 6, which is where the engine blew in Trulli's Prost car. Katayama's obviously avoided it, if there is any seriously on the racing line, because he's gone through. He's now 5th fastest, behind Morbidelli, who's quickest, Magnussen, Marquez, Verstappen. Jarno Trulli, of course, is not within the 107% limit. Heinz-Harald Frentzen hasn't been out, but then nor has Villeneuve, nor of any of the top men.
Trulli took a very tight line into that turn 6. Did see the oil there as Katayama went through. I don't think it's going to be a big problem, because immediately after 6 you pull over to the right hand side for the entry of the pit lane. So just as they go through the apex of 6, they'll find it a little bit slippery. I think that'll clear away quite quickly. It's not going to be a big drama. We're still going to be in the 10s for pole position.
I can't remember a precedent like this, because we have only got 27 minutes or so left in this session for tomorrow's Austrian Grand Prix, and only 5 people have put up times, which means to say that there's 17 still to go out to get this crucial position.
Well, of course, yes, it is a bit extreme, but remember, they are only allowed to do 12 laps, and at a minute and 10 or minute 11 per lap, it doesn't take too long to do, but they're going to have to come out soon, really, to give themselves a chance to do one run, make an adjustment to the car and get back out on the track, find some clear space. They're going to have to be on the track very soon.
And that time of Katayama's 1:12.852 moves him up into a provisional 3rd place, as Alain Prost talks to Jarno Trulli and asks him what on earth went wrong. We know what went wrong. It was a major blow-up of the engine, and I presume that they are practically changing the settings on Shinji Nakano's car. He's much slower than Jarno Trulli, and Prost will want the Italian to be able to get into the spare car and put up a good time for the best possible grid position, because Trulli was very quick this morning. He was 4th fastest, just 33 thousandths of a second slower than Pedro Diniz, who has yet to go out.
Irvine leaving his pit garage, going at reduced speed as he has to until the white line, and then nailing it onto the racetrack. So Eddie Irvine onto the track for Ferrari. As
you watch Ukyo Katayama, the man who's just spent part of his holiday time before Monza, climbing Matterhorn without any oxygen. That's the sort of thing he likes to do in his spare time. And Ukko Katayama now is still in third position as you watch the Jordan mechanics clearing up that oil slick.
Well, they don't want their drivers to have to pull out of their pit garage on brand new tyres and drive through a pool of oil, because that's a bad start to your run.
Heinz-Harald Frentzen talking to Tim Preston, his race engineer. Each driver has his own race engineer, and the two of them are responsible for setting up the car. Jacques Villeneuve works with Jock Clear, Heinz-Harald Frentzen works with Tim Preston. All four of them defer, but not invariably as far as the drivers are concerned, to Patrick Head. You were watching Gerhard Berger. You now look at Michael's younger brother, Ralf Schumacher. Very quick, but sometimes rather wild, doesn't always stay on the circuit. And now you see the Ferrari coming through, and just checking on the times as over the line goes Eddie Irvine. Now, the time that Irvine is aiming for to beat and to move up into the provisional pole position with just under 25 minutes left is 1 minute 11.539. The circuit, as all of them, is split up into three sectors. Sector 1 ends just before the Gerser curve. The right-handed downhill sweeper, second gear, 65 miles an hour. And that's Morbidelli's time, which is Irvine's target for the first sector. He's on his fast lap now, and Irvine is on, we believe, soft tyres. He's inside Morbidelli's time. Now, the next sector ends when they come out of the Lauda curve, then the left-hander that follows it. This is it. He's coming up to the second left-hander. There's only two left-handers on this circuit. Into the right-hander, up towards the end of sector 2. And Eddie Irvine is a lesser amount inside Morbidelli's time, which indicates just how good Morbidelli's time was as he goes into the Jochen Rindt curve, named after the late Austrian world champion, and completes the lap and moves up not into provisional pole position, but into second place behind Morbidelli.
Well, of course, it was his first flying lap, but if he has chosen those soft tyres, it seems suicide for the race. They've been lasting about 4 or 5 laps before blistering. Some people are gambling that it's going to cool down a lot tomorrow. There's been talk about that all week. It's going to be cooler on race day. But also, this may be some Ferrari team tactics. Remember, they have to get Irvine in the picture, because, as I understand it, Williams are now in a position where they're going to hold Frentzen and let Villeneuve score the maximum number of points to help him in the championship. And Michael Schumacher needs the same service, so maybe tactics there. Irvine on his second lap. He's quite a bit faster to date. Through 5 there, across the curb, take the shortest route. He'll be going through the timing beam just as he heads downhill. There he is, 3/10 up. Could be a low 11, but it's not going to threaten the front of the grid here this afternoon. He's going to have to go faster than that, especially if he is on soft tyres. Here he comes now through over the start-finish line, the end of the lap. Just look, James Bond.
He's gone into provisional pole position. That time moved him 7/1000ths of a second ahead of Morbidelli. You saw Mika Salo in the Tyrrell pulling off the track, so that's 2 cars out of qualifying. Salo's got the same problem that Trulli had, that his teammate's car is not going to be suitable for him immediately, because the other Tyrrell is set up for Jos Verstappen. Now, Rubens Barrichello, a man to watch. He was second fastest yesterday. He's in provisional pole position if he keeps this time up. And as Mika Salo runs in, Rubens Barrichello, the ex-Jordan driver, after 4 years with the team, switched to Stewart to join the new team this year, and is on the Bridgestone tyres that I've been talking about. But we're back again with Eddie Irvine now into the second sector.
Yeah, this is not going to be fast enough to beat Barrichello's time. Those Bridgestones are looking strong. Frentzen has taken to the track. Irvine's aborted that lap into the pit lane. The pits have told him his 2 first sectors are down too much. You can't make the difference up in the last section, which is just 14 seconds long. And Gerhard Berger there preparing for his first laps of the afternoon. So Barrichello still on provisional pole.
Yes, in case you missed that, Rubens Barrichello sensationally in provisional pole position. Yes, and we have still got time to go, but Barrichello is doing brilliantly well.
He's on another one. This is going to be even faster. This should be just into the late 10s. Yes, it is. Yes, that's a good run. Damon Hill's also on a good lap. Hill goes second on an 11 flat, but Barrichello the first into the 10s.
And they're all pouring out now. Barrichello's out there. Hill, Irvine, Johnny Herbert, Jan Magnussen. Coulthard is out there, so is Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher. We said it was going to speed up, and indeed it has. There's just 20 minutes left, and you can expect the times to come tumbling down and for the positions to change second by second. But look at the traffic. Barrichello is still quickest. Hill is second, both on Bridgestones. Irvine on Goodyear's is third. Morbidelli is fourth, but that will change.
Well, Frenson's car's stopped outside the Arrows pit, some way down the pit lane. Frenson didn't make it onto the track. Obviously, stuck in gear, apparently. Frenson's car stuck in gear. Irvine is definitely on the soft tyres. Crazy. Barrichello is on yet another hot lap. Remember we said these take 3 or 4 laps to come in. Not great in the midsection. He actually lost 3/10 on his best. So this may not improve his best time so far, but he remains on provisional pole. Let's see. No, it's fractionally slower. But there he is, Damon Hill, slow in the midsection on his next lap. He's obviously pitting. It's all happening. We'll try and stay on top of it.
And Jacques Villeneuve has yet to appear on the track. Frenson has appeared on the track, only to stop. Jacques Villeneuve has just gone out. As I talk to you, 18 of the 22 drivers have been out. 2 of them have stopped, Jarno Trulli and Mika Salo, and will be rushing back to get into their spare cars as you watch Ralf Schumacher, the younger of the brothers, and he's down in 14th position, but he's only done 1 lap at the present moment. Let's see how he goes in the second sector against Rubens Barrichello, who's the quickest man of the afternoon so far, and the answer is that Ralf Schumacher is considerably off Barrichello's time. And we've got a quick man on the track. Jan Magnussen is out doing another quick lap and goes up to third fastest. Barrichello, Hill, Magnussen.
Well, the Jordan's been off the pace all weekend. They're struggling here. They're not able to find a good setup. They can't use the soft tyres, and really they've been 1 to 1.5 seconds behind where they need to be. So it's going to be a struggle for them this afternoon. Truly, you can see they're still outside of the required 107%, but not all of the drivers have been on the track yet, so clearly they haven't qualified either. Barrichello, Hill, Magnussen, 3 Bridgestone runners in the first 3 positions. Irvine, the best of the rest.
And Shinji Nakano, the man you're watching, the Japanese driver, is in the second of the Prost cars. Remember, his teammate Trulli has blown the engine up and will be trying to get into the other. And there's another engine gone immediately below me. There's a great cloud of white smoke gone up all over the commentary box. There it is. Now, who blew his engine? I haven't the faintest idea. I just saw the smoke appear. And it's Pedro Diniz in the Arrows, the man who was quickest this morning. That's a Yamaha engine gone to lunch in the biggest possible way. And now 17 minutes and 40 seconds to go, and the fastest is still Barrichello, 7/100,000th faster than Damon Hill. Magnussen third, Ralf Schumacher fourth, Irvine fifth, Morbidelli is in 5th position. Michael Schumacher is down in 9th place.
Hakkinen on a good one. He seems to be the fastest of the Goodyear runners. Coming over the line now, goes up to 3rd place. I couldn't see any oil on the track from Dinitz's blow-up at all, but that's bad news for him. That's a tragedy for him, just as he's going out to prove he's a world-class driver, having been faster this morning. His engine's gone pop, and he's got to get across that track too, so he's going to have to go and find a tunnel somewhere, otherwise they'll penalise him. So Hakkinen now moving up into very close company with the front row, which remains Barrichello and Hill. Villeneuve on a lap. It's a long camera shot here, tends to make the cars look as if they're travelling very slowly, but you can see Villeneuve's down a little bit.
Yeah, Jacques Villeneuve is out on the track, and he's on his quick lap now because he's in 7th position at the present moment, 0.5 of a second slower than Rubens Barrichello, And we've got 16.5 minutes left of the 60-minute qualifying session for tomorrow's Austrian Grand Prix. Now, Jacques Villeneuve.
Villeneuve's been quick through this last section all weekend, often the quickest. He's very committed through that last, very difficult corner. And it's, fourth place. There's some more time in him yet. He's a threat. Michael Schumacher out on the track too. So Coulthard had a big crash this morning, took the front wheel off the car. He's got to build himself back up to speed. He's still in about 9th place. Michael Schumacher obviously lifted off on that last lap to find himself some clear space, hence the 1:14.8. Now he's on another charge.
Just over 15 minutes to go. It's still amazingly Barrichello fastest, Hill is second fastest, Hakkinen is third, the top Goodyear runner. Villeneuve is fourth fastest ahead of Michael Schumacher and Ralf Schumacher, as out goes Gerhard Berger, the hero of Austria. And we rejoin Michael Schumacher as he comes down to the Gerser curve, the old Bosch curve, which has been moved.
Into third gear there, you can see him fighting with the wheel as he comes down on the gear shift and then applies the power through the sweeping curve into 4. He takes an enormous speed. You'll see him now, we've missed him coming into the picture. He carries enormous speed through the apex, as does Michael Schumacher. That's where he finds the time over the other drivers. But his car doesn't seem to be working as well since Silverstone for whatever reason, and Hakkinen is on a flyer.
Yeah, Hakkinen's gone fastest in the first sector. He's gone faster than he's been before in the second sector. Villeneuve has just gone fastest, and Mika Hakkinen crosses the line and moves up into provisional pole position. It's really moving here now in Austria. Hakkinen fastest, 2/5 of a second faster than Villeneuve, who is 3/10 faster than Barrichello. Down to 4th goes Hill. 5th is Michael Schumacher. 6th is his brother. 7th is Morbidelli. He was, because it's Fisichella now. And they are changing all the time. 14.5 minutes to go. And Hakkinen is on another quick lap, but so is Jean Alesi down in 14th position at the present moment, as you watch the fastest man on the track at this moment, Mika Hakkinen.
He's on an in-lap, of course, there, or just trying to find some space. You can see the car ahead of him. I expect Mika's going to go in the pits this time, but this is what we were talking about, a flurry of action, and they start getting in each other's way as the intensity towards the end of the session increases. Just 14 minutes to go now.
1 second covers at the present moment the top 8. 8th is Irvine, 7th is Fisichella, 6th is Ralf Schumacher, 5th is Michael, 4th is Damon Hill, Barrichello is 3rd, Villeneuve is 2nd, Hakkinen is in provisional pole position, and coming up towards us is Villeneuve in the Williams. Now, what is happening to Heinz-Harald Frentzen? He's down in 21st place at the present moment. He's only done 1 lap. And presumably he's in the Williams area trying to get into Villeneuve's spare car, which was set up for the French-Canadian, and the Williams mechanics are going to be working very hard indeed to try and get Frentzen out on the track.
Frentzen is now on the track. He has stayed in his race car. Clearly they fixed whatever the gear selection problem was. First flying lap of 13.7. Very steady, very steady. He's got a lot to find over 3 seconds.
Yeah, and Mika Hakkinen, as things just temporarily quieten down, and Gerhard Berger crosses the line in the Benetton. He's only 17th at the present moment. His teammate Jean Alesi, who finished 2nd at Monza, remember, is only in 14th place in the other Benetton.
Well, remember Gerhard's words when we spoke to him down in the pit lane when there was no action on the track. He was totally dejected about his lap time, his car setup, the way his tyres were working. And the net result is only 17th at this time.
Well, Mika Hakkinen in all his Grand Prix, and the Finnish driver has been at it a long time now with Lotus and with McLaren. Tomorrow will be his 93rd Grand Prix, and he has never started in pole position. He's only been on the front row of the grid once, and that was at Monaco in 1994. And now we're with Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the rejuvenated Williams, coming through to complete the lap. And as he does so, Frentzen is in 14th place.
Now, earlier in the season, we've seen Frentzen go wobbly at this point and really just lose his head completely. Be interesting to see if he can just contain himself and get this thing back under control, because he's capable of putting this car on the front row of the grid. Villeneuve's on the front row of the grid already, provisionally, and Frentzen has been faster than him all weekend, but he clearly had that problem. and Heinz-Harald tends to lose his head. We did an interview with him here a day or so ago, and I have to say it's one of the strangest things I've seen in Formula One. So clearly I'm not absolutely sure what goes on inside there sometimes.
Well, in terms of the World Championship, Villeneuve is in an advantageous situation at Austria at the moment, because he's on the front row of the grid, and his rival, Michael Schumacher, is on the third row of the grid. There's half a second difference in their time. Now, the time difference doesn't matter as much as the fact that when the race starts tomorrow, if the positions are the same, Michael Schumacher is going to have Damon Hill and Barrichello between him and Jacques Villeneuve. Schumacher will be just aiming to get points tomorrow. Jacques Villeneuve will be aiming to get the maximum points. Heinz-Harald Frentzen has just gone faster. You're watching him as he goes up into turn one. He's moved up into 6th position, and with 10 minutes to go, it's still Hakkinen fastest, 2/10 faster than Villeneuve, 5/10 faster than Barrichello, 6/10 faster than Damon Hill, who's looking in very good shape indeed. Frentzen is 6th, Morbidelli is 7th, Schumacher, Ralph is 8th, 9th is Fisichella, 10th is Johnny Herbert.
Yes, well, Frentzen popping up there into the top 6 as we've seen. To elaborate on that interview, Heinz-Harald just didn't want to say anything for some reason. He's a bit unhappy with the British press, the pressure that's been on him for taking Damon Hill's seat, but nonetheless, it seemed he wasted a good opportunity to put his point across. Nevertheless, he's in the top 6. He's faster on section 1 so far. He's coming towards the end of section 2 on another flying lap. We're going to get the picture any moment now. I don't think it's going to do anything for his current 6th position. Coming into the last corner, they take a lot of curb on the inside, and that's what's been sending the cars off the road there. Crossing the line now. Sorry,
third position, he moves up into 3rd place. Now, here are the cars, drivers and tyres. Hakkinen fastest, Goodyear. Villeneuve 2nd, Goodyear. Frentzen 3rd, Goodyear. Barrichello 4th, Bridgestone. Hill 5th, Bridgestone. Michael Schumacher 6th, Goodyear. Then Morbidelli and Magnussen 7th and 8th. Jan Magnussen is in 8th position. Rubens Barrichello in the other Stewart is in 4th position. Stewart have never had a race grid like this at the present moment. You're watching a very, very slow motion now of Heinz-Harald Frentzen with his left front wheel off the ground altogether.
That was the end of that run anyway, so it hasn't cost him anything. He can pit quickly and get his 2nd set of tyres. There you can see him bumping along. So many cars have done that here this weekend as they outbrake themselves into the corner, spend the rest of the corner trying to correct it, and finally running out of road. Magnussen goes 4th, 1:10.9.
And Johnny Herbert is in 11th place in the Sauber. David Coulthard is in 13th place. His teammate Mika Hakkinen is in provisional pole position, and there are 8.5 minutes left to go. As coming towards you, the second car, that one, is Jan Magnussen, and he's now 4th fastest. He's faster than Barrichello. Jan Magnussen is really getting his act together here in Austria. He's been having very bad luck with the car and with his driving up to this year, but as I said earlier on, he's really getting things together.
He's backing off there. He had a terrific first section and then caught the Minardi. He's having to back off and make himself some space. No way he would pass him and keep any kind of lap time. No point risking his car. Live for another day.
7 minutes to go, and what James was saying about the number of runs that people were going to be doing certainly looks to be true, because most people have done 6 laps, some have done 7. Magnussen has done 9 laps and has got 3 left to go, including the one he's on. So since the 12th one, he's going to have to come in. He's got 1 quick lap left as Gerhard Berger comes towards us in the Benetton. And it looks as though he's going to be starting way, way down for his home Grand Prix tomorrow. He's only in 19th position at the present moment. Now, this is turn 1 that we're looking at the replay of. And going out and smoking up the tyres is Gerhard Berger.
Yes, the right front wheel unloads as you begin to turn in, as the weight transfers to the outside tyre, and the inside tyre becomes light, locks up. Gerhard struggling there into turn 2, into the hairpin, the slowest part of the racetrack. Damon Hill had a very, very good midsection on his last flying lap, the fastest of any driver today, but he didn't make it pay off. Still a 1:11.0, back there in 6th place.
6.5 minutes left to go. no change at the stop. Look at that oil slick that Jarno Trulli laid.
Yes, Trulli will be about as popular as a wet Monday morning for doing that, what he did earlier.
Here's Damon coming towards us. Now, sixth position at the present moment as the Benetton is wheeled into the pit lane and Damon comes out up behind Ralf Schumacher.
And Magnussen found himself some space and has gone third. 1:10.893, Magnussen goes third.
Quite amazing. Mika Hakkinen is still fastest. Jacques Villeneuve is second fastest. And Jan Magnussen in the Stewart is only 0.5 of a second slower than Mika Hakkinen. As you watch Damon Hill really going for it. 5 minutes and 40 seconds left. Over the line goes Damon Hill. And does he improve his position? No, he does not. That 0.6 of a second makes all the difference. He's still in sixth place. But we've now got Magnussen on the Bridgestones, Barrichello on the Bridgestones, Hill on the Bridgestones, all in the top six.
Here comes Barrichello. He could be in front of his teammate. Over the line anytime now. You can't see him on the screen, but it's a very fast lap. Yes, he does.
Third. Rubens Barrichello moves ahead of Jan Magnussen. Jackie Stewart will be having a big party tonight. I shouldn't be surprised if they stay where they are now. It's an incredible performance by the Ford V10 powered new Stewart car designed by Alan Jenkins. The team's been doing a wonderful job and they've got things together with a vengeance here. Now that's Verstappen in the background with the little yellow wings on the front. He's following Shinji Nakano. And behind him is the Stewart of Rubens Barrichello, third fastest. 4 minutes and 40 seconds left of this 60-minute qualifying session. Hakkinen is quickest, Villeneuve is second, Barrichello is third, Magnussen is fourth, Frentzen is fifth, Damon Hill is in sixth position, completing the top 10. Michael Schumacher, Gianni Morbidelli, Ralf Schumacher and Giancarlo Fisichella. And now this is coming up to the Jochen Rindt turn. And we're riding with Mika Hakkinen. He's just gone through that sector at 274 k's through the speed trap. Over the line goes Mika.
Yes, but it's going to be a wasted lap. He wasn't close enough to the Tyrrell in front of him there. Sorry, it's a Stewart, and that car's going to get in his way. I think he expected he was going to somehow slipstream that car, and that's cost him a lap.
Yeah, Mika Hakkinen is following Rubens Barrichello, who's just gone faster and will be therefore slowing down.
And the next man on the track going fast is Michael Schumacher and Gianni Morbidelli back there in 7th and 8th. They look like they're starting another strong lap, and we're riding with Hakkinen. He's, I suspect, swanning back to the pits. Yes, he is. He's on his way back to the pits. David Coulthard, his teammate, who knocked the front wheel off of his car this morning, is not going well, although he is now on a hot lap. It's taken him a while to get used to whatever they've changed on his car, and David is up and running. Denitz is not yet. Oh, there's a lot of dust there. Somebody's been off. You can see the car in the background, right up against the barrier in the background near the grass.
It's Damon Hill. It's Damon Hill's gone off. A lot of people did that. Now, Hill is currently in 6th place. A lot of people are going off at that place. You're absolutely on the ragged edge of adhesion as you go round turn 7.
I don't know why Damon chose to go down there. I don't know why he didn't sort of do a U-ey and come back onto the track on the bigger piece of grass, because I think he's effectively gone down a cul-de-sac, and that's his qualifying finish if he has.
Yeah, look to me actually, from the quick look I got as they were stopping and starting to get out of the car. He's done 10 laps, he'd only got 1 lap effectively left, and that was the one he was on, so he couldn't have gone any quicker. I think it looks as though he's going to start 6th on the grid, 3rd row, 2.5 minutes to go.
Well, Coulthard moving up to 7th. Michael Schumacher still back in 8th place. There you see him, and that's not good news for his championship hopes, with Villeneuve up there on the front row for this circuit where it'll be very, very difficult to overtake.
Looking good for the championship. Obviously, everybody wants the championship to go on as long as possible. 4 races to go. 10 points between Michael Schumacher and Jacques Villeneuve, and Schumacher is the man who is leading as over the line goes the Williams, and it's still Hakkinen, Villeneuve. We've only got under 2 minutes now. Michael Schumacher may just get in another lap after this one, and he's on his 10th lap as we watch Jacques Villeneuve trying to improve by going up into pole position ahead of Mika Hakkinen, and Villeneuve has just gone through the first sector faster than he has been through it before. 0.3 of a second off the fastest time that we've had this afternoon, which was that of Mika Hakkinen. So at the present moment, Mika Hakkinen is holding his pole position. There's only going to be a few seconds left before Villeneuve goes through now. Is he over the line and into pole position? Yes, yes, yes! Jacques Villeneuve moves up into pole position for the 8th time this year.
And he did it by being very fast in that last section again. Easily the fastest of any car. He can make the difference through there. Jacques does tend to build his laps and really make it count when it matters most. Frentzen also on a strong lap, but nothing like as quick as the one that Villeneuve just put in.
Now, Mika Hakkinen is out on the track. He's actually on his 11th lap as Jean Alesi pulls in, and Alesi's 50.
Frentzen goes third. Frentzen up onto the second row. Morbidelli, or is that Johnny?
Herbert.
Johnny going backwards towards the hedge. You won't get out of there, Johnny. Switch it off.
30 seconds left. Wheel spin. You might just as well get out of the car, Johnny, and park it, because your practice period is over, and Jarno Trulli is moving up into third position. Jarno Trulli, the man who blew his engine earlier on, has moved up into a scintillating third position with 11 seconds of the session left. Villeneuve fastest, Hakkinen second, Jarno Trulli is in third place, Frentzen is in fourth place. Both the Williams are in the top 2 rows. Rubens Barrichello and Jan Magnussen are 5th and 6th ahead of Damon Hill. The checkered flag has gone out, the session has finished. Eddie Irvine, that we're looking at now, is currently only in 8th position, but he has out-qualified his teammate Michael Schumacher, who's actually on the track and may improve on his time, but at the present moment Irvine is ahead of the double world champion Michael Schumacher. Well, we said it would take a long time to get this session going. That's exactly what it did take, but it was worth it in the end. Jacques Villeneuve, pole position for the 8th time in his career, the very best possible place he could be for tomorrow's Austrian Grand Prix. There he is, passing Eddie Irvine. Mika Hakkinen in the McLaren is on the front row again for only the 2nd time in his long career. Jarno Trulli, a magnificent 3rd in the Prost, ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Rubens Barrichello and Jan Magnussen in the 2 Stewart Fords are the 3rd row of the grid, with Damon Hill, and Michael Schumacher, you see, has stopped. Maybe he's just run out of petrol.
Yes, they ran the cars very light, of course. Schumacher did take a place on that last lap. He overtook David Coulthard to move up just behind his teammate Eddie Irvine. Not often you see Irvine ahead of Schumacher, but that's Eddie Irvine stopped as well. So both Ferraris stopped out on the track.
Cut it mighty fine, but Eddie Irvine has still out-qualified Michael Schumacher, his teammate, and I think, subject to correction, that's only the 2nd time in his career he's done it, and it's something that he can be very proud of, because Michael Schumacher is generally acknowledged to be the best driver currently in Formula One. So now the qualifying session for tomorrow's Austrian Grand Prix has finished, and Jacques Villeneuve, for the 8th time on Goodyear tyres, as you see from the graphic, is in pole position ahead of Mika Hakkinen. Williams first and McLaren second. Then the Prost of Jarno Trulli and the 2nd Williams of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Williams looking very good for the Constructors' Championship. The 2 Stewarts of Barrichello and Magnussen, 5th and 6th. Damon Hill, 7th in the Arrows, that's good. Eddie Irvine has out-qualified Michael Schumacher, 8th and 9th. David Coulthard, 10th position, well behind Mika Hakkinen. Ralf Schumacher has out-qualified Fisichella. Schumacher is 11th, Herbert is 12th. Morbidelli in the Sauber is 13th, ahead of Giancarlo Fisichella. Then Alesi, Nakano, Deniz, who blew his engine, Berger, Katayama and Jos Verstappen, the top 20. Everybody is qualified. Marquez and Salo, 21st and 22nd.
Thank you very much indeed, Martin, and thanks to Murray as well. Sorry about the first half hour. It would have pleased the Austrian Tourist Board, but nobody else. But a thrilling last 25 minutes or so. We'll be chatting about that with Simon and with Tony. And there's a competition as well. You can still win that VIP trip to the last Grand Prix of the season. We'll be right back.
When Cold Seal started replacing windows, that's not all we replaced. The first thing we got rid of was the traditional amazing offers and instant reductions. Then we replaced the idea of simply fitting windows with a commitment to provide